First of all, and I don't want to take away any responsibility of the journalist, but I think I want to make it clear that at least the journalists who are employed, they follow directions by the editor-in-chief, by the publisher. We have different systems, and their workload has changed tremendously. Maybe 10 years ago, they would write 1 article a day. Now they have to write 4 articles a day. They have to be online. They have to be multitasking. They have to do the technical work. And how can you provide quality when it is like that? Very often, because of the reduced timing, they do cut and paste. They don't go outside anymore. They don't have time to go to a city council. So the actual work of journalists, which is accountable, putting power to accountable to the people, is hardly possible unless you have a few really quality news which still have the means to give this chance to their journalists. And I know most of the journalists, they want to do that. That's why they are journalists. Their vocation is to do this forced power, which, was in the older time, was sort of the DNA of journalism. And some of them go away from journalism because they don't get money and they don't have this vocation anymore, so they leave it. Well, this is a huge problem because we are dealing with trust, and without trust, nobody will buy journalism. And I think that's why we are living in an information crisis at the moment, because the quality of journalism, the quality of media has declined. There are many reasons for that. Of course, the digital platforms and their attention economy driven algorithms have not helped at all. That quality information, as you say, facts don't matter. It is not true. But all this toxic news on social media is not helping citizens to digest and to find the news they can trust in. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we have lost a little bit what we did before, that you buy news. You spend some money to get quality news. Because, journalism costs a lot of money. It means a lot of resources. But this paywall that was created again doesn't really work. And specifically young people are not used to spend money. And I think we need a lot of innovation to find interesting pay models. Subscription is not always the right way. Maybe a Netflix for journalism, a Spotify for journalism.
What artificial intelligence brings is quite a revolution, but for people, definitely a certain instant access to answers about just anything. But obviously some of the operators in charge of the AI systems, they do not have society necessarily in mind when they create those systems. So I think there's definitely something to learn for public service media on how to adapt, because obviously this is a dynamic that will continue to get traction. Now, I'm quite happy to see that across Europe there's a lot of public service media organizations that are using already AI. I see great uses, but it's always been a bit of a different mindset and a different approach of public service, of public value, because I see throughout those systems, personalization is definitely one driving factor, but it's not ultimate personalization. Because with ultimate personalization, you will have just individual choices each time deciding what you will get to see. I see a lot of work we do within public service media is also working around recommendation systems that mirror some kind of a public service, a public interest angle. To say we need a more personalized approach because people expect that. The instant access and a more tailored approach. But it's not just about personalization, it's about really making sure that in that new digital world, where everything is really coming at you at a big space or a big pace, that it's still broken down in a responsible way. Because that's the big problem. People often confuse the solutions that AI give you with the ultimate freedom. But we all know it's a false sense of freedom. Because whatever sense of freedom it gives you, what lies behind is still strategic choices, commercial choices to increase traffic on their platforms. That's quite an important starting point, I think. But it's really one that is taken serious by public service media. There's a lot of innovation going on throughout Europe. We're really testing a lot of systems. That's a route we're probably going to have to pursue the coming years. There's a strong awareness, I think, also by policymakers when we look at the European policy making level, there is serious attempts in the medium and long term to free also some additional funds at European level to try to make more out of the story of AI media innovation, but also combined with literacy. So that should be maybe a more hopeful message, but it's quite exciting to follow, I think. There's many different threats, but I think it all boils down to the key question is how can public service media remain relevant for the people? Because as we all know, people contribute to have a public service media in a given country or a region and expect from that public service media that it delivers quality content. There are financial pressures, people feel it, but also public service media feel it. There's also the digital challenges. We have the role of big tech platforms, the role of algorithmic processing of data, algorithmic recommendation. So there's numerous challenges actually to address for public service media to stay relevant. Now, how to do that? It will be a mix of solutions, obviously. First of all, by ensuring there's enough investments, sustainable investment in public service media, because public service media helps the whole creative sector, the whole society to flourish. It's about contributing to quality programming. It's about partnerships, working with universities, working with academia, but also other commercial partners sometimes, commercial broadcasters, people involved in literacy, very important entities involved in literacy. So that very much has not necessarily to do with policy, but there is an important policy angle to it, obviously, because policy supports and gives the right framework for public service media and its partners to be able and to continue to be able to do what it should be doing. We have the national policy side, but lately the European side of things, which is incredibly important, because media functions in an international environment where global big tech has an important role to play when it comes to media. So some of those answers have to be European also. So we have to have a European dimension, a European approach, a European framework when it comes to media in the broad sense, to protect it, but to be able to harness media better. So when we talk about policies, it could be regulating big tech, it could be promoting robust media policies to sustain finances, to support the creative industry, to continue to invest in programs generally. So yes, there is a strong policy pillar to it, but it always comes also with sustaining that dynamic feature of the sector itself and ensuring that in each country of Europe, there's that bunch of actors, including public service media, that continue to team up, collaborate for the better to society.